Patterns and realms originate from ideals. Xiefeng. January 16, 2024. The grandeur of one's ideals determines the breadth of one's patterns and the depth of one's realms. The ideal of U.S. President Donald Trump was to make America great again. The ideal of the former Japanese Prime Minister Kono Fumimaro was to establish the Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere. Hitler's ideal was, I want to stand at the highest point in the world and shout to all the people in the world, attention. Here, we first put aside the personal qualities and the harm their ideals have caused to humanity, and only talk about the role their ideals have played for them personally. The reason why Trump became the President of the United States is not because his ideal is to marry 10 more wives and have 100 more children, but to make America great again. Hitler's ideal is not to become a billionaire and glorify his ancestors, but to become a world leader. His ideal made Hitler. There is a joke that says Thief A is studying fashion, and Thief B asks, are you going to buy fashion? Thief A says, I'm studying where the pockets of the fashion are. Studying the location of the pockets of clothes is for stealing wallets. Such a smart person can only become an invincible thief at most. Readers, please think about it, what is your ideal? Let's take China as an example to look at some data. Since the 18th National Congress, nearly 5 million corrupt officials have been punished. From 1988 to 2021, 33.48 million criminals have been arrested. At present, online information says that there are 780 million people in debt in China, with an average debt of 140,000 yuan per person. On average, nearly 300,000 people commit suicide each year. These data, along with those who are plagued by diseases, often quarrel and fight, etc., a large part of people live a hard and bitter life. The above data show the tragedy of life, and the root cause of the tragedy lies in their ideals. The ideal of 5 million corrupt officials is to have as much money as possible. The ideal of 33.48 million criminals cannot be separated from individual selfishness and ego. The ideal of nearly 800 million indebted people cannot be separated from satisfying vanity. The ideal of 300,000 suicides cannot escape the lack of correct faith. From this, we can gain an insight: the lower and closer the ideal, the harder the life; the higher and farther the ideal, the more glorious the life. Let's compare to see if this prediction is accurate. There are 8 people. Person 1's ideal is to have a house in his lifetime, give birth to 3 children. Person 2's ideal is to become a civil servant and get a secure job. Person 3's ideal is to glorify his ancestors and become a superior person, let relatives and friends, classmates, colleagues, neighbors envy. Person 4's ideal is to open a shop, with a monthly income of 20,000 yuan. Person 5's ideal is to run a listed company, famous all over the world. Person 6's ideal is to be president. Person 7's ideal is to become a Buddha. Person 8's ideal is to let everyone live a happy, joyful, free, and blessed life. From the life ideals of the above 8 people, we can basically draw a conclusion that the grander the ideal, the more fulfilling the life, and the ideal determines a person's achievement. We can also draw a conclusion that the probability of person 3 and person 5 turning to crime is relatively high, while the probability of person 7 and person 8 being corrupt and committing crimes is almost zero, and the possibility of person 6 becoming Hitler is relatively large. At present, this era is an era of money, capital, and power operation. People have basically given up their ideals. As long as they talk about ideals, people generally think that it is a void thing. Because people no longer talk about ideals, there are contradictions, conflicts, and confrontations everywhere: the confrontation of consciousness between the East and the West, the confrontation of interests between countries, conflicts between many countries and nations, the survival confrontation between people and nature, the cognitive confrontation between people and people. We can't see the beautiful prospect of human civilization. We can't find a few people with grand ideals. Of course, we can find people who have the ideal of realizing the great harmony world on the internet. If we carefully examine it, their great harmony world is just a slogan and a cover, without specific content. A great harmony world without specific content may turn the whole earth into a prison. Imagine, if a dictator who does not allow people to have personal freedom, freedom of speech, and freedom of thought rules the whole world and realizes that great harmony world. Isn't that scary? So, I hope that more and more people with saintly thoughts and grand ideals will be born among human beings.